Watch the top 10 on Motivation Nation.
Believe Nation.
Oh, Believe Nation. Okay. All right, here we go.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 on Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like na na na. For my top 10, top 10, top 10, na na na. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Kevin O'Leary, and my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Learn from experience.
I've come to a new place in my understanding what works and doesn't. I also went through the educational process. I did an MBA, and people ask me, does that have anything to do with success or failure? And I say, no, it doesn't. I don't remember a single thing I learned there for the 2 years except the people I met that now are out there in the world as bankers and lawyers and whatever else they are, and I use them as my database of contacts to help build my businesses. So I think that was important, but the classes, I forget completely what it was about. I will say one thing though, I've learned something from what the Europeans do, Evan, and listen to this. In Switzerland, I have a stepfather who's Swiss. He lives in Geneva, Switzerland. I've been going over there for 40 years, back and forth. Take a company like Nestle. They offer an internship program that they call an apprentice program over there. It's almost like the sorcerer's helper in a Disney movie. In high school, if you think you like the food industry, maybe, Nestle's a global food company, they'll let you come in and work on weekends and afternoons after school to see what it's like in the real world. Even though you're just a teenager, why are they doing that? They're trying to figure out who is going to be the next asset for their company that is going to be someone who attaches themselves to the business maybe long term. So they get to try you out, you get to try them out, they pay you a small stipend, but that's an apprenticeship. What an opportunity for you. You're a teen. You're sitting in a meeting with a bunch of managers. You're absorbing all that stuff and you're learning. Why the hell don't we do that in North America? Because maybe 1 out of 10 is the right person. But once you're indoctrinated, if that's the right word, into call it the Nestle program, you're a Nestleite. You're there. They want you, you want them, and away your career goes. I love it. I think every company in North America should take that program on and offer this opportunity to kids in their teens and say, look, you want to see what work is? You want to see what it's like? Get in here. But it also gives you a chance as an entrepreneur to say, I understand the corporate structure and now I want to try something a little different on my own, but I will have had that base of information, not only about what it's like, but that sector. If you love the food industry, you're with the El Supremo. And you're learning about it, and then one day you can split off and say, hey, Nestle, I'm going to build this food business. You want to buy it from me after it gets to 50 million? That's the program I like.
Rule number 2, pursue the freedom.
I tell entrepreneurs today, and I invest in so many of them, when I say to them, look, you're starting this journey, I want you to understand something. This is not going to be fun all the time. You're going to work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, because there's some guy in Mumbai or Shanghai that's going to kick your ass if you don't.
And it's forever.
And it's forever.
Yeah.
But what will happen if you're successful, and you won't see it coming, you'll wake up one day and say, oh my goodness, I'm wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. You'll probably go right back to work, but the point is you created something of tremendous value, and the way it manifests itself to you later in life is it gives you freedom to do whatever you want. My number one message to entrepreneurs, and I teach today, is never pursue entrepreneurship for the greed of money. It has nothing to do with it at all. The whole reason to be an entrepreneur is the pursuit of freedom. That's why you do it. You do it because you want to be free one day to do whatever you like. I'm here because I want to be here. I don't have to be here. I don't even have to ever listen to a phone call again if I don't want to. That's not what I want to do. I enjoy spending my time doing the things that I want to do. And I deserve it because I worked like hell to get here.
Rule number 3, know when to hire people.
The only reason you add employees is sales is growing. You don't add employees unless revenue is increasing because you can't afford them. If you have sales growth, then you have to start thinking about getting support people so your customer service level stays in the top quartile. That's when you hire people. You're always keeping your eye on, how do I service my customers? How do I make sure my employees are happy? How do I make sure my investors are happy? Those are your three constituencies. But number one is you've got to have happy customers. And the reason you bring on the risk of that extra overhead is you need employees to do that. So no hiring anybody until your sales go up. Every time you double your sales, you should add a couple of people to do customer service and support in all areas of the business, whether it's accounting, whether it's what you do online to support them, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales. Those people are supporting customers at the end of the day. That's how it works. No hiring anybody until sales go up.
Rule number 4, think outside the box.
Everybody has a path in their career they plan on, but it generally doesn't work out that way. There's a series of events that happen to you along the way, and you don't know as they're happening because you only realize how important they were maybe a decade later when you realize it was a huge pivot point for you. Mine was when I was working in a summer job in college for a pet food company. And I had a German manager, a really interesting guy, and he taught me that most pet foods at that time were made from Sea of Japan tuna and chicken faces and beef lips and rendered, protein using mango juice to crush it up. Sounds horrific, but those are two basic engines, and then they'd add some peas or, some carrots, and they'd create cat food flavors. Decades later, when I was in the software industry, I realized that we were the leader in math and reading software, and here's where this story comes into play. All my competitors were spending a fortune building unique applications to advance reading and math scores. Those are the two big things you actually create software to advance if you're in education. And I thought to myself, that's crazy. This is really just Sea of Japan tuna and chicken faces. All we need are two engines, and we'll just add characters to them. And that was how the Learning Company became the largest software company in the world in reference in education. We sold it for $4.2 billion. But that manager gave me the idea to synergize around two development groups. So we'd buy a company, fire everybody, and just take the characters they had. And we cut our costs dramatically. Our costs of R&D were half the industries everybody was complaining, but how are we doing it? We're doing it because we understand that software is no different than cat food. Let's talk about writing books, because I'm working on my 4th now. I'm hating every minute of it, but I think it's going to be my best. But I always say that about every book. How do you do yours?
This book came when I was on tour last year, and I was hitting the city every 4 days and doing a speech in front of a group, and the questions that people asked me, I just kept like a note of what people kept asking me over and over again, and then it turned it into
and you got thematically, you would get some very questions over and over again that people had, right? And you say that is a kernel. That's an important question because they keep getting it all the time. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I was on tour and people kept asking me, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? It's like the number one question in every city across America. I said, well, that's pretty easy. You don't have to sit on top of a mountain for 10 years or hire a $20,000 business coach. There's a 3-step process to find your purpose. And I just guided them through it. And then everyone's, hey, pick me, do it with me. It's like, okay, well, I'll turn it into a book. And that became Built to Serve.
Sounds good. I got to read that book now. That sounds pretty good. I got to find my purpose. I've really enjoyed our time today. It's
great.
You're a good guy.
Thank you.
I'm going to endorse you. It's fantastic.
Rule number 5, love what you do.
You're always competing with somebody somewhere, and these days it's global. And you got to make the assumption that the person you're competing with really loves what they do, and they're willing to work 25 hours a day. And if you're not totally in love with it, you're screwed. So I would argue to an entrepreneur, don't start something that you don't have a lot of passion for, because you're going to fail, because you're going to be competing with people who do have that passion, who are motivated. And I see that happen all the time. They just get bored. And, maybe I've invested in them and I can see that they're just burned out. And if that happens, quite often, I would say, probably about 30% of the time, after a while, and they realize, boy, this is hard work. Yeah, it is hard work. Running a business is really hard work. But it's an added bonus if you can get up in the morning and say, I can't wait to go fight the fight. Because with certainty your competitor's doing that. So that is a theme that we can both agree on. You better love it, baby.
Rule number 6, deal with your insecurities.
How can I overcome my self-doubt and other people's opinions, especially my close ones like my family? And how can I grow my business to the next level?
Swapnil, fantastic question. You know, every entrepreneur has self-doubt. It's just that you don't want to show it to the outside world. People want to follow somebody that knows where they're going. But you have to be able to deal with your insecurity. You can't let your family tell you don't know what you're doing, not when you have a burning desire to be an entrepreneur. The key to success, though, is to find somebody that augments your skills. If you're great in one area, find someone who's better in another, that you're weak in. That's how you can really reduce your self-doubt and make your outcomes much better, because you're reducing your risk by getting a partner in the business. But don't let someone tell you can't do it. That's just crap, particularly your family. Many people are jealous about entrepreneurs. They want to try it, but they don't have the guts to do it. Even within a family that happens. Doesn't mean you don't love them. It's just you're not listening to them when they give you all that naysayer stuff. Stay focused on the goal and deal with your insecurities. Everybody has them.
Rule number 7, diversify.
1 year ago, I started a construction and development company with no loans or investors. So far, it has gone very well, and just in the last 6 months, we have had $1.5 million in revenue with well over $200,000 in net profit after paying myself. We have incredible growth slotted for next year based on signed contracts. My issue is I'm feeling guilty paying myself so early in the company life after hearing the sharks and other entrepreneurs' stories. I just want your opinion on when it is okay to start giving yourself a salary. Thanks, Mr. Wonderful.
Justin, you're a fucking rock star, my friend. Good for you. That's absolutely spectacular. That's what it takes, the guts to get out there and start. I'm really excited for you. Now, look, I got some advice here, okay? Number 1, there's nothing wrong with paying yourself, particularly from what I'm listening to, you can afford it. But the key to that is you're taking it out of the company and investing it in something else that's completely different. That, Justin, is the concept of diversification. So you put it into an ETF, or you put it into the stock market, you put it into bonds, but it has nothing to do with your construction business, because what you find in life is when you get too concentrated and you leave all the money in the business and something happens, and believe me, in life, poo-poo happens, you're wiped out. You don't want that to happen. You're starting your diversification now. So let's say you pull out 50,000, basically you have to live off it, but if you can keep 10% or 15% of what you're taking out and invest it in something completely different, like a portfolio of stocks and bonds, that's how you get wealthy long term.
Rule number 8, be willing to sacrifice.
I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur. I actually think only a third of the people can handle what it takes, because it is a really hard gig. People try to make it exciting. Running a business is a bitch. It's hard as hell, and not everybody wants to sacrifice the lifestyle requirement to do it. You're giving up a lot. I mean, you're not going to hit all those soccer games on the weekend. You're not going to go to the family picnic. You're going to miss a lot of stuff in your young kids' lives because you're just working, because your competitor's working that way. I think it's a sacrifice.
Rule number 9, have integrity.
How could senior executives who is at the pinnacle in their career effectively invest in their personal branding?
V, an amazing question. Personal branding is really interesting. One of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel is to talk to people directly to see what I'm really like when I'm outside of the Shark Tank. You know, I'm not wearing a suit right now. I'm just being honest with you about the decisions I have to make every day, like everybody else does. I'm an ordinary person like anybody else that focuses on the tasks I got to get done during the day. But you raise a really interesting question. Personal branding is about integrity and honesty, because people smell bullshit from a mile away these days. And so you've got to be honest with people, even when it's hard to be honest. It's important to be honest, because your reputation, takes a very long time to build, and you can lose it just like that if people feel you're being dishonest.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is stay focused on your goals.
A mentor taught me this years and years ago. When you're an entrepreneur, there's so much noise coming at you. There's so much distracting you, and you're trying to make everybody happy, and you're trying to solve problems for everybody that works for you and the customers that you have. And it's so powerful that sometimes you lose focus. Sometimes you forget why you're there. You have to set goals, both short and long term, and stay myopically focused on achieving those. You have to shut out the noise. You have to shut out the criticism. You have to shut out the haters, the guys that are hassling you, the people that are calling you your competitors, all that stuff. And you're going to have all that. You're going to have all of that stuff. And that's all distracting. If you have the ability to just shut that out of your head, you'll be successful, because you stay focused on the prize. People are very, very challenging to work with sometimes. You're going to find that out. It doesn't mean you can't work with them. But if you're trying to make everybody happy, you will make everybody unhappy eventually, because you can't do it. You have to think about three things. Your customers, are you taking care of them? 2, your employees, are you taking care of them? And number 3, your shareholders, are the people that loan you the money to run your business. They are what you spend your time on 24/7. You can't solve all the world's problems. You can't take care of every baby whale. You can't clean up all the oceans overnight. You have to stay focused on your business to make that successful. Then after you've become successful, and hopefully you will, you can start focusing on all the other things that are really important to you. But if you try and do that at the beginning before you solve for your customers, your employees, and your shareholders, you're going to fail. And that's what many, many young entrepreneurs don't understand. You've got to have a myopic focus to shut out that noise. I know it's not easy to do that, and making people unhappy with you because you're so razor focused can often feel troubling to you. But if you can't do that, you're not a leader. If you can't do that, you will not be a successful entrepreneur. If you can't focus, you just won't make it. So remember that. These are tough love suggestions, all right? It's just the nature of how it works. But if you can, and you ask me what makes entrepreneurs successful, myopic focus on the long-term and short-term goals and not letting anything else distract them.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video? And what is your specific plan of action for the next week? When you just watch a video and get motivated by it, you have a 35% chance of following through. But when you get motivated and then create a specific plan of action, you have a 91% chance of following through. That's what we do here, Believe Nation. We get motivated, but then we do something about it. And when you commit to other people, you increase your chances even further of following through. So, what was your biggest takeaway from this video? And then what is your plan of action around it for this week? Put it down in the comments below, because I want to celebrate you.
The best way for millennials to pay off their student loans is get myopically focused on it. Even while you're in school, get a job slinging beer or waiting tables. That's what I did. I hate student debt. I hate being in debt. Everything in my power was to take as much as my part-time jobs, even after I got out of college, and pay back any loans I had. I owed money all over the place. You're not free until you get out of debt, and you can't save anything while you're paying back interest. And often people buy a lot of crap they don't need. So rule number 1 is don't buy crap. You don't need 15 pairs of jeans, you need 2. You don't need 20 pairs of shoes, you need 2. You need a good suit, you need a tie, sometimes you're gonna need, but don't buy a bunch of crap you don't need. Take it and put every dime you can towards that student loan. You can pay it off in about 36 months, I find, if you're really focused, assuming you have a job. If you don't get a full-time job, it's part-time, try and make 20% of what you earn off against that loan. Those loans are nasty. Interest rates go up over time, and you eat up so much of your potential by paying interest to somebody else. Pay it off.
If you want 10 more awesome rules from Kevin O'Leary, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
If you don't start putting aside at least $100 a week, if you've got a job, you will have nothing at the end of your career.